Hey everyone in Empowered Soul Network land. Another great interview today. I'm so pleased to share with a good colleague, friend of mine, Stacy O'Brien. She is here in Des Moines. Actually, we see each other regularly right across the street at the Unity Center. She's got an office there. She's the owner of Shop 33 Oracle and she'll explain about that. She's an energy healer and Akashic record reader, so she does healing of trauma, past lives, and so on. She's a tarot card reader. She's just a super service person. So, Stacy, welcome to Empowered Soul Network.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's great seeing you. And just we were talking a little bit before we started the recording. What's inspired you about your journey? What kind of take us back a little bit. What was the kind of the awakening that began to happen for you that changed your life?
Um, my journey's been lifelong, like a lot of us. When you actually do go through an awakening, you do retrospect, looking back, you know, at what led you here. Um, so it's a good question. As a young child, I was pretty intuitive. Uh, I always knew when the phone would ring before it'd ring or the door, someone would come. It's an anticipation feeling. Um, but growing up, my parents had took us. We lived in a lot of places, like 9 cities, 3 states. We traveled a lot. I had a good childhood memories. Um, it was good, except for the changing of the schools all the time. I never was able to connect with other kids because I was constantly moving. So I was a very loner child. I had a big imagination. I spent a lot of time alone. On the recess playground, you would find me alone because, yeah, I just moved there. People are not nice to new kids, especially when they're like, who's this kid out of nowhere? But I would eventually make friends and then have to move again. So that was kind of my childhood. But we did have a lot of exploration. Um, my childhood, we traveled, we seen caves, we went to Indian burial grounds, we seen it all. We went camping every summer, fishing. I mean, I was so connected as a child to Earth, I think. And one of my classes that I'm teaching on tomorrow is the sacred language of symbology. And I think back as a child on how I always was connected to the sacred language, not knowing, but I was by looking at patterns and the way everything talked to you, in tune. So it was inherent. But growing up, yeah, it just a lot of diverse, a lot of time alone.
Yeah.
My teenage years got rough, but
So yeah, I can relate. I can relate to what you're talking about.
yeah,
Growing up being very intuitive and sometimes being made fun of because you say things and people think you're weird or crazy
yeah.
or something even worse than that and cultish and all that. So and especially as a growing teenager, that really started to come out more because people were testing your beliefs. So how did that work for you? What were some of the angst and challenges as a very sensitive, intuitive person that you found as you got older?
Um, half my half my family is apostolic, so strong religion background, which caused me to battle internally the things that I was seeing and feeling, and questioning if I was going to burn in hell, like
Yeah.
all the time. So I would battle myself and not accept it. But then I would accept it because I would have these crazy things happen to where I couldn't deny, you know, my abilities, on things. And then I would do research and learn about it, but then I'd pull myself back because I'd be scared. It was pretty, yeah, there was a lot of battling going on.
Yeah. So what began to help you shift, Stacy? What started to help you like be more relaxed with that sensitivity? How did you start to find that?
The more occurrences, where spirit, source, God showed me throughout my life, my faith became stronger and stronger. And I was 17 years old when I bought a psychic development book and started studying psychic development. Um, and I walked into Ancient Ways, which is in Des Moines, the old one.
Right.
And I remember the feeling for the first time. It was amazing. But I had picked up that book. And when I went to the counter to check out, the owner, who some of you guys probably know very well, she we talked for a second, and then I was walking out the door and she handed me a card on shamanism and a whole like pamphlet on going and getting educated. And I thought it was so weird. I laughed about it. I was like, I would never be a shaman. Not in my, I mean, I laughed about it. I kept that pamphlet in that book to this day. And here I am, you know, I don't know, 15 years later, I went and studied Indian healing. So it's just crazy how that came to be, you know.
Right, right. As you,
That Go ahead.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
Well, that was the start of me starting to really get serious about it. Well, I went through a dark period, a few years later where I lost my dad, a brother,
Mm-hmm.
and a friend. And I lost him within 3 months. And it took me on a 3-year spiral of deep depression. And when you're in a dark place like that mentally, you don't feel spirit. You are alone on this journey. It is a spiritual war that's happening in your head, you know, where the temple is, that is where the battle is. That's why you have to keep your temple safe. But I battled for 3 years, and at the end of the 3 years, I was really bad, and I was praying to God. I was asking for help, you know, and I had a warm presence come over me that night for the first time in 3 years. That's like a drink of water in a desert, you know.
Right.
And I knew in spirit, it was like spirit was telling me, I'm with you and I'm right here and I love you. And that was the message I got. That next morning, I had opened up YouTube to a positive motivational speaker, and it gave me hope. It gave me this feeling of there's hope. So then I started listening to positive motivational speakers for about 3 months, 24/7. And I rewired my brain out of that pattern, that thought pattern, and broke it. And that's what I try to help people with today. But that started me on my spiritual journey as well, being able to pull myself out of that and start getting more connected with spirit and the positive side of things.
Well, that's a beautiful story, it's I've done a lot of interviews now. There's very amazing parallels to a lot of people's stories about having this gift
Yeah.
inside, not being sure what to do with it, sometimes feeling dirt being thrown on it, and so on, and to be able to come out of that and be so. What does it feel like now to have come out of that and now being able to help other people? What has that done for you inside?
Um, it really strengthened me to know that what I can overcome, and that I try to help people understand their thought processes or where it starts. And if you can get control of that, you can change your life. It changed my life. That's so big, being able to take control of that and break that pattern. And I hope to do the same for others.
What are some of the kinds of things you've seen in others as they've started to break that pattern? How have you seen their lives being transformed? They may have children, or they may have a big career, or they may be a leader, or they have these things going on in their lives that are very unique to the next
Yeah.
person. What are some of the things that you've seen that are examples that might help people that are listening to this know that there's hope for them too?
Um, I know that I'm not for sure how to go with that question, but I've seen it with like people I've mentored,
Yes,
you know, and certain people that I've worked with real close really just change 180 degrees and be able to get control of their own lives. Um, but you see it with like Eckhart Tolle with the power of now and
right.
the secret and the manifestation of 369. These are all real. These work. I promise you. If you've seen my life and how I was, 10 years ago and the darkness I was in, to seeing how I'm light, like I have a whole different 180-degree perspective on life. And it's and the manifestations, miracles are endless, and faith is the number one key. Faith is the key to it all.
Can you unpack that a little bit? What is it to have faith? What does it feel? What is when a person starts to have faith? What are they experiencing, and what happens to them?
So, like in the Bible, it tells you about faith the size of a mustard seed can move a mountain. You better believe it. So I've seen so many miracles being in tough situations in my own life where spirit, I will just, whatever I can't control, I surrender. There's nothing I can do about it. I have to have faith that spirit's going to work and give me what I need at this time. And then I just let it go. I quit thinking about it. I quit worrying about it. And I have faith that spirit has my back. And then I have watched miracles come in out of nowhere. And it shocks me and surprises me, but gives me my faith even stronger. You know, like one time, I'm a single mom, and this was a few years ago. Um, I didn't have much money for Christmas, and I felt ashamed and I felt bad. I had like maybe $300 to go towards both kids' Christmas presents. And uh, right before Christmas, my brakes went out and I had to get new brakes. That costed the entire $300. Okay. And I had nothing. Absolutely. These kids were opening up nothing on Christmas. There was nothing I could do about it. And that's a crappy feeling for parents to be in a situation.
Right.
And so I didn't know what to do. And a week before Christmas, I got a check in the mail for $680, double of what I lost, right?
Wow.
It came from an old retirement plan 5 years ago. I had already withdrew all that money out from that job, but somehow they had something saved back. It was 5 years later. I
Wow.
got this check and I was like, oh my God, that is crazy. And what does that do? That makes your faith strong and to understand that miracles can happen if you believe, if you surrender the worry and give it up.
Beautiful story, Stacy. I'm intrigued by your single mom, and you grew up as an intuitive, sensitive being. My kids all did that.
Yeah.
When one of my daughters was 4 years old, she walks up to Susan and goes, "Mom, do you remember when I was your mom and you were my baby?" Just, it blows your mind. So what clues or hints do you have for parents who is experiencing a sensitive child like that?
Aw. I have a sensitive child.
Yeah, yes. That's why I'm
Um,
asking. I thought so. Yeah.
yeah, so luckily my child has me. But
Yes.
if you have a sensitive child, it's definite to nurture it and not have fear. Do not allow fear to come in the conversations. Explain to your kid that if you feel fear, you know, to get you or call on protection, and that to know that you're protected at all times. Make sure that the protection is strong, and that they need to know that they are, you know. But also nurturing and keep the fear out of it. There's no need for it.
Well, what else? And that's great. That's a beautiful, beautiful answer to that. What else? So that they're working on the fear. That's good. What else do you find that you can see that parents could do to continue? How do they nurture? What do they do?
Um, Conversations, getting your kids into meditation, like
Okay.
a good thing would starting with their meditation, but conversations about it. Like my son comes up and talks to me a lot about his dreams that he has, and I'll help him kind of decipher through it, or um, he'll tell me about something he was thinking and somebody else did, and I just listen.
Okay.
I think listening is the number one, being interested in what they're saying and really listening.
Do you find that there's an enjoyment in the teamwork with your son and you and processing the intuitive experiences? I know, like my daughter, she loves yoga, and her two kids love downward dog. They love to do it with mom. There's that interactiveness. Do you find that that seems to help too when you actually participate with the child in those kinds of activities?
Yeah, we do have a game. We do. Oh, so I teach it in my psychic development class, but it's a telepathic game. And I've done it with my kids for God knows how long, since my son was young. But it's always a car ride game. So we're in the car, we're either going on a trip or it don't matter, going to the store. Hey, Liam, what number am I thinking of between 1 and 10? You know, and then we'll do this back and forth, and we'll do it the whole car ride, and then he takes his turn, and I have to guess what he's thinking. So that's a good game to play with kids, and start them off young, because then they understand how to clear their mind, and you teach them how to clear it out so that the intuition can come in, and that's the first thing they need to know.
Oh,
It's the
that's
first thing
beautiful.
that drops in.
And plus, the kids oftentimes they don't have nearly the cluttered mind that we do. They haven't been programmed with all that outer stuff. So
Right.
yeah, that's beautiful. Well, this is just fascinating, Stacy. I just love this conversation. I say this in all my interviews, but I could talk all day about this. We could
I know.
compare notes up the kazoo about, kids' experiences and our own experiences. So I really appreciate your being open to share some of
Yeah.
that with us. How can people get in touch with you?
You can find me on Shop 33 on Facebook. I also have a 33 Oracle face Facebook group page you can join, but Shop 33 on Facebook.
Great, great. Well, when we'll get done with the recording here, and when I get it posted, make sure you go in and put
Yeah.
that in the comments. It'll take me a little bit to do that, but listen, really, really appreciate it. Hang around for just a few moments, so we'll talk afterwards. But thank you so much for being in
Thanks
Empowered
for
Soul
having
Network.
me.
There you go, everybody. Stacy O'Brien,
Thank you.
intuitive extraordinaire. Make your connections. Have
I
a great
bet you
day,
pick
everybody.
I bet you pick pieces from everybody's. You get a little bit of new information from everybody. So I was watching a couple of these. I found them interesting.
Yeah,
So I'll be watching more.
there's a great group of people that we've been
Yeah.
able to interview and that are connecting in Empowered Soul. It's a great platform for giving people voice and connection. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing yours.
Thank you.
Thank you. Talk to you
I'll
soon,
see you
everybody.
then.